21st, 2021. Welcome back to another episode of Inside Lines. My name is Jet. Hope y'all are having a wonderful day. We have another video. We got more stories to talk about. Some that took place during the weekend at Nashville, and two other stories that just took place last night. The first one is following the race at Nashville Superspeedway, the Ally 400. Now, I wasn't able to talk about this during my Victory Stop race review because by the time this announcement came out, I was already halfway into uploading it, and I could not be bothered to, to stop the upload, go back, edit, do all the stuff again just to post it again at midnight. Just did not want to do that. So I decided to wait and post it for a Monday episode of Inside Lines, and that story revolves around Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott, he finished 13th in that race after having somewhat solid day, running inside the top 5, top 10 all day long. Well, it was reported by NASCAR that he failed post-race inspection, not with anything with the car, but with the tires. Apparently, he had 5 loose lug nuts during inspection after the race, and because of that, he has been disqualified and would finish 39th. Marchex Jr. had 1 loose lug nut. I think he finished 23rd. His crew chief, James Small, has been fined $10,000. Now, to give you an idea on what each punishment is for how many lug nuts you have, here's a look at the rule book regarding those lug nuts. So if you have all 20 lug nuts are secured, and you're good, no penalty. 1 that's loose, you see what happened with Marchex Jr. Your crew chief will be fined $10,000. If you have 2 lug nuts that are loose, you'll be fined $20,000. The crew chief will be suspended for 1 race. 17 secured or less, so 3 or more lug nuts that are loose, you get a race disqualification punishment. And now it doesn't say exactly, I don't believe, as to which tire. Like, it doesn't say whether, let's say if it was 2 on the left front or 2 on the right rear and 1 on the left rear or anything like that. But how in God's name do you manage to get 5 lug nuts loose? I understand maybe 1 or 2, but 5 lug nuts. How does that happen? How? Now, that could maybe play a role into Chase Elliott falling off near that final run, or he could have been in fuel-saving mode. Don't know the issue or the deal that was going on with Chase, but maybe that's why he finished 13th, because the car was just not handling well, because his tires weren't secured on properly. But geez, how in the world do you get 5 lug nuts that are loose? I've never heard of that story before. Again, I've heard, 1 or 2 lug nuts being loose. Maybe, I think 3 one time, or I think one time where a crew chief was suspended because of lug nuts, but I've never heard of 5 lug nuts being loose on a car after a race. But yeah, that's the update. Just wanted to put that out there. Tough break for Chase, but he already has a win. He won at COTA, so that doesn't matter. He's already going to be locked in the playoffs no matter what. Now we're going to stick with the story of Chase Elliott, but instead of talking about him and his car, we're going to talk about the guy that's on the eyes in the sky, his spotter, Elliott DISQUALIFIED. Now, I think it was reported last week that Elliott DISQUALIFIED was charged with assault and battery on a pregnant woman. I could be mistaken, in a jet ski rental area. And he was suspended indefinitely both from NASCAR and from Hendrick Motorsports. Well, this weekend, he was back. He was back spotting for Chase Elliott at Nashville because, according to Bob Pockrass, Elliott DISQUALIFIED had been reinstated by NASCAR and will spot for Chase Elliott for the rest of the season, as he had been hired back from Hendrick Motorsports after it was reported that his battery/assault charge were dropped due to insufficient evidence to warrant prosecution. Conflicting statements were made by the witnesses, and despotive evidence was never provided to the district attorney's office. So to put in simpler terms, there wasn't any sufficient evidence to successfully prosecute Elliott DISQUALIFIED. On top of that, the statements made by witnesses did not match up, or at least were conflicting with the arguments, I'm guessing, that was made by the prosecution. And there wasn't any evidence to describe really exactly what happened. That was never provided to the DA's office. So because of that, all charges have been dropped. Overall, my thoughts, don't really know what else to say about this, except, hey, you're innocent until proven guilty. Maybe there was a skirmish or some type of incident that took place at this jet ski rental, but probably nothing to the effects that the prosecution was hoping for. Maybe it was an argument, just a simple argument, and they wanted to prosecute it as some form of battery and or assault charge on Eddie, when probably in reality, probably wasn't the case. I mean, the fact that they couldn't bring any sufficient evidence for a battery/assault charge, you'd think that'd be pretty easy, based on physical evidence, but the fact that they couldn't bring any type of evidence for this charge means that probably everything was maybe overhyped to try and bring Elliott down. I don't know. I'm speculating at this point. It shouldn't be, but yeah, Elliott back in NASCAR. Now let's talk about some news regarding charters. You love charters, right? Kaulig Racing. We know that they're going to be making the transition to the Cup Series next season. We know that's for sure. We were also speculating two things. Number one, who'd be the driver? And number two, how many cars would they field? I assume it was going to be one car and they were going to put Justin Haley behind the wheel. It just made sense. He's been there. He's been with the team since what, 2017 or 2016, 2017, I think around that era. A young driver with a lot of talent. It just made sense to bring him up into the Cup Series. But actually, it turns out Kaulig Racing has two charters. They bought two charters from Spire Motorsports. One of them will be a full-time car. That's going to go to Justin Haley. The other will be a part-time entry, and that will be fielded by Allmendinger, who is still going to race in the Xfinity Series full-time next season. Now, Spire will continue to focus on Corey LaJoie in 2022, with them just keeping one charter. But yeah, I think this is a great decision by Kaulig. I think, if you're going to bring a young driver like Justin to the Cup Series, yes, he's raced a lot with Spire Motorsports, but he's going to be driving for a competitive team next season in the Cup Series. And I think having a driver like Allmendinger, who has been in the Cup Series for 10 years, from 2007 to 2017, he knows, how to get around in NASCAR's top division. He knows what it's like. He knows how to prepare and how to attack, the longer endurance races at some of, different tracks with faster and bigger Cup cars. And I think he can be a great trainer or supporter of Justin by playing a sort of more of a mentor role. Like, hey, I'm going to be in the Cup Series with you, and I'm going to help you learn the ropes, to get you adjusted with everything, get your feet wet. So I think this is a great decision by Kaulig. And I was not expecting them to go with two charters. I thought they really only had the money for just one. But yeah, it's cool to see. I mean, we got Kaulig fielding in, a full-timer and a part-time entry. 2311 Racing, potentially a second entry. Trackhouse, another potentially second entry. GMS Racing, them announcing they're going to Cup next season. Don't know how many cars, but they're going to be a Cup Series team. Got a lot of new teams. Getting it, maybe Junior Motorsports as a possibility, but we got a lot of new teams coming to the Cup Series in anticipation for the next gen car. A lot of, say what you want, what's taking place on the racetrack, but off the racetrack, there's a lot of good things going in NASCAR's way. And speaking of good things coming to NASCAR off the racetrack, NASCAR has made a new hire. Probably not the guy you expected, or I think anyone expected, but Alvin Kamara, you probably know him, running back for the New Orleans Saints. Well, he's got two jobs. He's an NFL running back, and he's now going to be working at NASCAR. That's right. Alvin Kamara was hired. I don't know when, but over the weekend, it was announced that Alvin Kamara has been partnered up with NASCAR to become their first ever growth and engagement advisor. He even has his own desk. He has his own nameplate. He has his own, ID card and everything. Now, Kamara will work directly with NASCAR leadership on connecting new audiences through immersive and educational experiences that help them learn more about the sport. Kamara will interact directly with fans at the races, including yesterday's race at Nashville, and share his NASCAR fan journey through digital and social media content. Again, I think this is another example of NASCAR doing a tremendous job to try and help open the doors to a more diverse and inclusive fan base, especially when you have someone like Alvin Kamara, who comes from a completely different sport in the NFL and is an African American. It's cool to see him share his experience with other fans that probably, maybe other NFL fans or other minorities that probably don't get. How could someone like him get involved with NASCAR? And he can explain to them, why NASCAR is a sport that everyone should enjoy and everyone should at least take a look at, and could, like I said, help open the doors a lot more, and in the future could see a more inclusive and diverse fan base. And again, it's just kind of crazy how all this came about, with what took place last May and NASCAR banning the Confederate flag. When that happened, Alvin came out, wanted to check out NASCAR. Bernard Pollard came out, wanted to check out NASCAR. And to go from that to now Alvin working at NASCAR, I'm sorry, I find that both hilarious and awesome at the same time. Yeah, I know that Alvin's journey and his experience and his background, I think, will help greatly with NASCAR's new direction to be more diverse. And wish him nothing but the best. But yeah, that is going to conclude this episode of Inside Lines. Guys, tell me what are your thoughts of any of the 4 stories I talked about in the comment section down below. on Alvin partnering with NASCAR. Kaulig open up with 2 charters, having Justin Haley, coming in full time. How do you think they're going to do in their inaugural season? As well as, Chase Elliott and his penalty, and your thoughts on Eddie DeHaan coming back to NASCAR, officially reinstated by NASCAR and HMS. But that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jet, and I'll see y'all next time.